Hello, little snickerdoodles. Okay, today we're going to go over some cueing to get into Adho Mukha Shvanasana, which is downward facing dog. I'm going to try various different cues. So what would be really helpful for me is if you can do the pose with me. I'm going to start in downward dog with you and do a few cues and kind of get us started, and then we're going to come out of it, and then I'm going to have you get back in it on your own, and I'm going to do a few cues and we're going to see where that goes, and then just do that a few times. So basically we're going to go in downward dog, we're going to come out of downward dog, and I'm going to do one with you, and the rest I'm going to sit and cue you, and we're going to see how effective my cueing is to get you into downward dog, see what works better for you, and then what would be really great, what would be super great, is if you want to record you watching me doing this and then following my cues. That would be great. I can see you actually doing it and kind of see where I'm being more successful with you and your body and how you're practicing. But if you don't want to do that, that's fine. If you can just follow my cues and then give me some feedback, kind of what worked, maybe what didn't, what hit for you, what felt good in your body, which cues didn't feel good at all. Any of that will help me. Okay. So let's go ahead and just get down to it. So let's come into downward dog. So go ahead, let's start in tabletop position. So hands underneath your shoulders, knees underneath your hip sockets. And to come into downward dog, let's go ahead and take one round of breath. Inhale. Exhale. Gives us a nice starting base. Okay. Tuck your toes, and when you inhale, lift back at your hips, push up. Push down in your feet to lift up, I should say. Keep a bend in your knees, and the force that you're using to push up from your feet, equal that force and push up from your hands. So you've got equal opposition from the front to the back of your downward dog. And as you breathe, consider maybe bending your knees more and pushing your belly to the back towards your knees. You might even rest them on your thighs. Your heels do not need to be touching the mat. As long as you have a downward energy pushing from your heels, that's all you need. Also think about pushing your shoulders back along the back of your heart. That way you move them away from your ears. On your next inhale, go ahead and wave forward. Come down, knees on the ground, back into tabletop. Take a round or two of breath. Go ahead and stay in tabletop. And now I'm going to cue you. So let's try a few different cues and just see what works for you. Tuck your toes, and on an inhale, push down into the ground to lift your hips up and back. Anchor in through your fingers and knuckles. Let your heels be heavy. Again, they don't have to touch the mat. Send your tailbone up to flatten back while you keep a bend in your knees. And remember to breathe, keeping your ears away from your shoulders. Don't hunch your shoulders. On your next inhale, go ahead and come back down, knees to the ground, back into tabletop. Take a round of breath. Let's try another round. Tuck your toes if you need to. Push down into the ground and lift up, pushing your hips to the back of your mat. Push into your hands at the same time as you pull your shoulders away from the ears. Send your heels down, whether they touch the mat or not, keeping your knees bent as much as you like. Think about what it might feel like with the energy in your body, how you can turn your hands inward, just with the energy, not actually turning your hands. And then think about spiraling the energy in your arms outward. That way you can draw your shoulders back along your spine. And so you've got this energetic spiral moving up your arm to help engage your muscles. Go ahead and on your next exhale, come back down, knees to the ground, back into tabletop. If you need to, take a child pose, take a round or two of breath. Let's try one more. Go ahead and tuck your toes. On an inhale, push down into the mat and lift your tailbone up. Let your heels drop. Think about your wrist crease being parallel to the edge of the mat in front of you. Fingers spread wide. And while you have your knees slightly bent, think about activating your core, knitting your ribs together so that you can lengthen your tailbone down. And it helps straighten your torso a little. Slightly bring your belly button into the spine. On your inhale, breathe into the back of your heart, in between your shoulder blades. And then we'll do something a little different. Puff forward and roll into your plank. When you reach your plank, go ahead and exhale, come to your knees. Drop back into child's pose. Let's take one round of breath. Inhale, exhale. And take a few moments to think about how all the different cues felt in your body. If something worked, if it didn't work at all, it's perfectly fine. Any feedback would be helpful. But you can go ahead and sit up. Thank you very much for doing this exercise with me. I have a couple other poses I need to go through, so hopefully you'll be able to take some time and do that with me. It was an honor. Namaste. Be kind to yourself.